American Top 40.
Hi there, I'm Simon Le Bon from Duran Duran. You're listening to Shadow on American Top 40.
When Simon Le Bon joined the band in 1980, he had just finished getting a degree in drama from Birmingham University. And dare I say, they made a dramatic #1 comeback. Simon and Duran Duran with Ordinary World. This week it slips to number 3.
AT40 Music.
About a month ago, Duran Duran's continuing comeback tour came to a screeching halt when singer Simon Le Bon tore a vocal cord. But Duran ticket holder fans don't despair. Simon's doctors report his throat is now healed up and the concerts have resumed. The band kicked things off with an MTV Unplugged taping in New York that covered their 13-year career from the early days of Girls on Film and Hungry Like the Wolf, right up to Ordinary World and Too Much Information. From our Whatever Happened To file, due out in February is a new album by Duran Duran. The guys who packed stadiums in the 80s will see if they can do it again in the 90s. But if Simon Le Bon keeps up his motorcycle racing, they might need a new singer. Back in July, Simon Le Bon broke a bunch of bones in a race in Wales.
American Top 40.
With hit history as it happens, this is American Top 40 with The Shadow. You really know you're part of history when you're honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And it happened last month for Duran Duran. Simon Le Bon was all choked up about it. In his acceptance speech, he said, "It is a great and special honor. Our songs exist relatively briefly in the heads of those who listen, but here is something of stone and metal that'll last throughout the day and night, come rain or shine. When you walk down the street, be sure to smile down at us, because we'll be smiling up at you." That's nice, huh? If you visit Hollywood, you can find this star next to John Lennon's, right in front of the legendary Capitol Records Tower on Vine Street.
Well, now we're up to the current hit for Duran Duran, a band whose colorfully dressed lead singer was once paid, and paid well, to wear a very dirty shirt. Ever since he was a young lad, Simon Le Bon has wanted to be on stage. His first dream was to be an actor, and when he was a young boy, Simon's parents enrolled him in lots of acting and dance classes. They took him to one audition after another, and one day they literally struck pay dirt when Simon landed a job in a TV commercial for a laundry detergent. It was one of those before and after ads where one kid wore a dirty, sloppy shirt as an example of before, and another kid wore a clean, well-ironed shirt as an example of after. Simon was before, and he says he remembers the day of the filming very well. No matter how dirty his shirt was, the director kept saying it wasn't dirty enough. And time after time, technicians came up to the young boy and poured grime and goo on him. By the time the TV commercial was done, young Simon Le Bon looked like he'd been dragged across the moors following a particularly bad British rainstorm. Nowadays, you wouldn't catch Simon on TV in a dirty shirt. You see, he's become one of the best-dressed male peacocks in British rock. In fact, he's infamous for showing up to audition for Duran Duran dressed in outrageous tight pink leopard skin pants.
Casey's biggest hits.
4 years ago this week, one of the biggest hits in the USA was Come Undone, a song by a band whose debut was delayed by 6 months because their lead singer wanted to get his college degree. It was back in 1980. The British group called Duran Duran had finally found the lead singer they'd spent the past 2 years looking for. He was a former punk rock singer named Simon Le Bon. The 5 members of Duran Duran were finally in place, but they couldn't hit the road yet. You see, Simon Le Bon was a drama student at Birmingham University. He was in his last year. He had just 6 months to go till he earned his degree. And so, for 6 months, the band stayed low-key. It was only after Simon finished his last exams that they finally went on tour.
The hits from coast to coast.
Well, now we're up to the song Rio, a smash by a British band whose lead singer is such a big fan of Michael Bolton's, he chased Michael's car down the street to tell him how great he is. Last year, Michael Bolton was having lunch at the fancy Four Seasons Hotel in New York City. After he finished his meal, he went down to the street to get into a waiting limousine. As he climbed in, Michael says he noticed a photographer taking pictures of some musicians, but he didn't pay it much mind. He says his limo was pulling into traffic when all of a sudden one of the musicians was running alongside, knocking on the window. Michael told the driver, "Stop." He rolled down the window and asked what was going on. The man who'd been chasing Michael's limo was out of breath, and it took him a moment to recover. And then he told Michael his name was Simon Le Bon, and he was with Duran Duran. He told Michael he'd bought all of his records and thought he had one of the great voices of rock. He said he was a big fan. Well, Michael thanked him and said he was a big fan of Simon's as well. And then Simon told Michael he wanted to tell him one more thing. He told Michael, who had recently had his long hair cut short, that his new look was great. And they both agreed that short hair was the way to go. At which point, Michael Bolton headed back into traffic and Simon Le Bon headed back to his photo shoot. Now, as an American Top 20 extra, here's Simon Le Bon and his band Duran Duran with a song that helped make them superstars.
Number 15.
Here's Duran Duran, a band whose lead singer, Simon Le Bon, was surprised to find a towel he had used after a show for sale on eBay. He was even more surprised to find that it sold for just a couple of dollars. Here's Duran Duran falling 2 notches this week with Sunrise.
Now the time, counting down the hits with Kasem.
From 20 to number 1, these are the biggest hits on the chart this week. Well, now we're up to an American Top 20 extra by a very successful band who made an unusual decision early on, that it was more important to look good than to sound good. Simon Le Bon, lead singer of Duran Duran, says, quote, "We grew up in the 70s with both glam rock and punk rock. It was clear that the most important thing was to look good. We decided our clothes had to make a statement. We were going to worry about our music later." For the band, their fashion role models were stars like Roxy Music, T-Rex, and most of all, David Bowie. Quote, "His music was unbelievably visual, and that was what we wanted to achieve too." Well, they're certainly remembered for their style, but it's their music that made them stars. From 1993, here's Duran Duran with an extra on AT20 called Ordinary World.
The hits from coast to coast.